You guys, I am so excited about today's video because we're going to be talking about 25 items that sold on Poshmark for $50 or more. So if you want to learn about where I picked those items up, what those brands are, how long I had to sit on those pieces for, and more, then stay tuned.
Won't nobody love you the way they should. Won't nobody check up on you, make sure you're good. Won't nobody check those body buttons for your neck.
Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park and I am a part-time reseller on Poshmark, Mercari, eBay, and Citizen. Although today we're only going to be talking about some of my best sales on Poshmark in the year 2020. Every week I put out at least 2 videos about thrifting or what sold or, thrift hauls, all that kind of stuff, basically chronicling my reselling business as a part-time reseller. I do have a full-time job as a high school choir teacher, and I'm also married with 2 kids, so time is definitely pretty limited, but on this channel, I share with you what you can do even with a pretty busy and full life outside of, your reselling business. So if you have any interest whatsoever in all of the things that I just said, then definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and also hitting the notification bell so that you know every time I upload new content, which is usually at least twice a week. Just to give you a little bit more context about myself and my reselling business, I live in kind of like a college town. It's not part of a big metropolitan area at all. And so to be honest, thrifting is not amazing. Very seldom do I come across like really amazing luxury brands. Do I come across things that just like get me really excited? But I am really happy with the reselling business that I have been able to create out of selling primarily bread and butter brands. And if you are interested in learning more about how to sell bread and butter successfully, I do have a video that I'll link right here. But generally speaking, I don't come across very many pieces that I can sell for $50 or more. So for that reason, this video is even more exciting to make and kind of look back on all of those, great finds and great pieces that I was able to sell for that amount. I know there are some people, primarily full-time resellers, who only list things that they think will net them $50 or more, but that's just not the situation that I'm in, given where I live and given the ability and time that I have to thrift. And so, like I said in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you just some of the best sales from 2020 on Poshmark, and hopefully it'll give you an idea of things that you can look out for when you're thrifting, some good brands to pick up, maybe just some different ideas on what you can do with your reselling business. I also didn't include any other sales from different platforms like eBay. I did have some bigger sales on eBay, but I just chose to focus on Poshmark for this video. And I also had some bigger sales that were like direct sales that I made from people watching my YouTube hauls. I'll be honest with you though, I don't think that to this day, I've had any sales on Mercari and Citizen that were $50 or more. I could be wrong. I didn't really go back and check, but to my recollection, just as I think back on it, I don't think that I've really sold anything of super high value over on those platforms. I'm sure some of you have. Please let me know down in the comments below which platform you have the highest profit sales on. For me, it's Poshmark, but I'm really curious to hear how you guys do on other platforms. So without further ado, if you want to see what 25 pieces I was able to sell for $50 or more on Poshmark, hit that like button and let's get into it. All right, so we are gonna go in order of like the oldest listings from 2020 and move into current day. So the first sale that we'll talk about is actually also the only sale that comes from the bins. And it was this pair of UGG brown Bailey button triplet tube boots in a size 9. I got these when I went to the Indianapolis bins. I believe I met up with the bin pickers this time and they were a little bit beat up, but I felt like, they were still worth picking up because at the bins you pay by the pound. So I probably had around $2 into these, and I was able to sell them for $50 on February 15th of 2020. They took 44 days to sell, and while Uggs are not something that I come across very often, every time I do, they do sell for me pretty well. I do have one pair of men's Uggs that I've been holding on to for quite some time, also from the bins. So they're not always the quickest sell, but usually, it's still something that a lot of people are looking for. So if you're able to find them for cheap enough, I would definitely recommend picking them up. The next item to sell was actually free from my mother-in-law, and it was this Joseph About brown leather jacket with large pockets in a size large. This is a men's piece. I do think that they sell this brand at places like Macy's and whatnot. My mother-in-law also loves to thrift, and she actually found this at a Goodwill in her hometown, which is in like the southern suburbs of Chicago. She actually bought it with the intention of turning it into a bag. She's really gotten into sewing and yeah, like making bags for herself. So she picked this up thinking that she would turn it into a really nice leather bag for herself, but then she brought it on a visit, you know, to our house, and she was like, do you think you could sell this? Because if so, then you should have it and you can sell it. If you can't sell it after, you know, however much time, I'll just take it back and make a bag out of it. So I was like, okay, that sounds reasonable. And you know, it was a 100% leather jacket, so I was fairly confident that it would sell. And it finally did. It took forever. It took almost a year, 317 days. It did randomly sell for $60 sometime in February. I can't remember right now if that was an offer sent to me or if that was its full asking price. I think it was an offer, but that was pure profit because my sweet mother-in-law gave that to me for free. So that was really exciting. The next thing to sell was on February 17th, and it was this Ted Baker navy off-the-shoulder dress in a size 10. I picked this up at a local consignment store. There are two that I frequent pretty often, and it sold for $62. That was the offer sent to me, and it sold in 16 days. I will say that the majority of the pieces from my list that I'm sharing with you today are from consignment stores, and that is a huge tip that I have when it comes to sourcing. Even if you're in a smaller town or if you're in a town that's not, you know, like Chicago or New York or LA or something like that, if you can find a consignment store, generally speaking, I do think that you're gonna find the highest quality pieces at a consignment store than you will anywhere else. And the reason for that is because people who have really expensive stuff but are just letting go of it for whatever reason, they know they have expensive stuff, they know they have good stuff, and they want top dollar for it, just like any sane person would. So, you know, if there is a consignment store in the area, maybe they'll seek out that consignment store because they know that they'll be able to make the most off of their item from the consignment store than if they were to, you know, just donate it or even, you know, bring it to Plato's or something, because, you know, Plato's is not really going to give them as much. And so even in my small town, there are like 2 or 3 consignment stores. And like I said, there are 2 that I frequent the most. And this particular one happens to be in the same plaza as where my kids do gymnastics. And they very frequently will run sales because just like a Goodwill or something, they have different color tags. And so once a tag is kind of near the end of its rotation, they will put that tag on like a 50% off sale or a 75% off sale. And so this dress is something that I picked up during one of those sales. It's still more expensive than if I were to have, you know, purchased it at a Goodwill or something. But one, I've never ever found Ted Baker at a Goodwill in my area. It's just not very commonplace. So while I did have to pay up for it, I paid up for it because it's a great piece, it's a great brand, and it's worth a little bit more money because my payout will probably be more than, you know, the kinds of dresses that I can find at Goodwill. Another reason I really like shopping at consignment stores is because I feel like it saves time as far as when you're picking through stuff, you're not necessarily picking through a lot of like damaged pieces or stained pieces. There can be a few because sometimes even the people at consignment stores who are checking items for flaws will miss things, but generally speaking, they've already vetted all of the pieces. And so really as you're sifting through stuff, you just have to look for brand, style, and price. So it really kind of cuts down on the amount of crap that you have to look through, and generally speaking, you'll be able to find more gems more quickly. So I really love shopping at consignment stores, especially when they are running big sales, and this was one of the results of that. So if you haven't checked out the consignment stores in your area yet, I definitely recommend, you know, at least calling them, asking them if they have any sales coming up soon, and just walk in and look through and see if it's worth your time, because you know, I've been in this town now for over 10 years and I only very recently started shopping at these consignment stores, which makes me really sad. The next thing on my list is from the North Face, and it's this green Ventrix hooded jacket in a size extra large. I believe this was a men's piece as well, and this actually I got for free from a school garage sale that we had to raise money for my theater group to take a trip somewhere. And while that trip was canceled due to the pandemic, all of that money will just go to the theater program and help fund future performances and whatnot. But this sold for $60, and so that $60 did go to my theater program, but it sold for $60 nonetheless. It sold on March 3rd, and it only took 3 days to sell. So some of these jackets by activewear brands or outdoor brands like the North Face can do really well if they are more recent styles. And typically, like inside of the North Face jacket on the tags, they'll have a lot of information for you as far as, you know, the style name or at least the style number, so you can look look up the style name and you can see if what you have on your hands is something that people are looking for. The next thing to sell, I believe, is also from that same consignment store. I'm like a little fuzzy on it. I can't remember exactly, but I'm like 98% sure it came from that consignment store by my kids' gymnastics place. And it was this pair of Haan Bethany black leather pumps in a size 9, just like buttery soft leather. They were beautiful, like the perfect classic pump for the office. And they sold for $58 on March 12th. And they also sold in 3 days. And I think this is like one of 3 pairs of Haan shoes. So while a lot of people are not a huge fan of selling Haan, I'll be honest, I'm not like the biggest Haan shoe fan either nowadays, because I feel like generally I tend to sit on them for quite some time. Sometimes they just, you know, they sell quick and they sell for good money. The next thing to sell is one of my very few pieces from Goodwill. And it's not even from a Goodwill in my area. It's actually from a Goodwill like an hour out. I picked it up when I was on a trip with some theater students. And it was this new with tags LaFleur black Atsuko shift dress in a size 6. I believe this was my very first time picking up LaFleur. They did have it priced up at that Goodwill just a little bit. I think just because of the fact that it was new with tags. I don't think that they knew how good of a brand LaFleur is, but I think they just saw that it was new with tags, and I think they had it marked at like $9.99 or something like that. So I snatched it up because comps were amazing. It was missing its belt, but it was new with tags. So it sold for $95 on March 20th, and it took 69 days to sell. LaFleur is a great like minimalist brand that caters to the working woman. They create pieces that are ideal for like a capsule wardrobe. You know, there are people out there who, unlike me, like to really limit the number of pieces in the wardrobe. So they like to have pieces that even if they wear over and over again, it's not one of those things where you'll be like, hey, you just wore that dress last week, because you can dress it with different layering pieces, or they're just so classy, not necessarily memorable in the sense of like, you know, they have a crazy print or something, but they're just really classic pieces that you can wear again and again. You look really professional and really put together. They are on the pricier side, but man, they are very high quality. People love this brand. So if you ever find it, definitely consider picking it up. I was shocked that I found this at a Goodwill, like I said, and that it was priced so low. So I was really excited about that sale. And I have since then found a couple other LaFleur pieces, but only at this consignment store that I keep talking about. The next thing that we'll talk about is this new with tags Keen Targhee 3 waterproof leather hiking boots in a size 7. They were a men's piece as well, definitely on the smaller side for men. This is one of the very few retail arbitrage pieces that I have on my list of 25 sales, and that's because I don't do a lot of retail arbitrage. I really only do retail arbitrage successfully at this one store that is local to my area, and they sell a lot of like outdoor brands like Patagonia, Arc'teryx, Keen. You know, they do. I have one more from that store on this list, and those are Sorel. So, you know, they have those kinds of brands, but they run really great sales every once in a while. And so I will try out some different things and hope for the best. And this was definitely a good flip. I think I had like $20 into these, and they sold for $89, which I believe was my full asking price. They sold on March 29th and they were listed for 29 days. Keen is a great brand. People are very loyal to them because more often than not, they are waterproof shoes. They're great to go hiking in, and they're just, you know, high quality, very popular brand amongst people who hike and just do outdoorsy type of things. The next thing to sell was a really cool sale. It was also from Goodwill. It was from the same Goodwill that I got that LaFleur dress, but it was this vintage Carter & Smith pair of wool Australian military cargo pants from 1952. They looked like they had never been worn, never been used, but it looked like they were something that was made for, you know, people in the military to wear when they were out doing combat or whatever it's called when you're doing war things. I don't know. I've never done any of that stuff. But when I was at that Goodwill, I went with like 3 colleagues of mine from the theater program at my school. They were so sweet. They knew that all I really wanted to do was go out and thrift. And they were really excited to go thrifting with me because they know that I resell. And actually, I think the majority of them have given me things to sell on Poshmark and my other reselling platforms at some point in my life. And so, you know, they're all very supportive of my side hustle, and they wanted to go thrifting with me just to kind of see what I was like in that context. And we went to this Goodwill. one of my colleagues was like, hey, I found these pair of pants. Like, I don't know if you want them. I just thought they were really interesting and cool. So she showed me and I was like, yeah, those are pretty cool. I think they were like $4.99 or $5.99. And so I got them. I didn't really expect that much from them. And I definitely expected them to sell on eBay. I didn't think something like this would sell on Poshmark, but they did sell on Poshmark. I got an offer for $85. I think I had them listed at like $100. I accepted that offer so fast because that was so exciting to me that someone would get those at that price, and they were listed for 69 days. So that was one of those things that I had no idea if they would do well or not. I did look up comps, but comps were all over the place. And I definitely shot for the stars when it came to pricing these, and I was really pleased with the results. So definitely, you know, if your gut is telling you to try something out, you know, trust your gut. If you make a mistake and it doesn't sell for as much as you thought it would, then, you know, maybe you don't make as much as you thought you would. But I feel like I would have always regretted not picking these up because I would have always just wondered. Like, I wonder how much those could have sold for. And now I don't have to wonder, I know. The next thing on my list is this New with Tags vegan leather black convertible backpack crossbody bag. This is a wholesale piece. I got it directly from a wholesaler. I have a friend who's a wholesaler and he sells accessories and jewelry, and every once in a while I will visit his shop or I will look on his Instagram and I'll pick out a few things that I want and he'll ship them to me, or, you know, if I'm at the shop, I'll just pick it up there. But the thing I like about getting pieces wholesale, and what I do is I sell them in the boutique section of Poshmark, I like that generally I will pick up, you know, 5 to 10 of the same item. So I only have to create one listing, but I can have multiple quantities of that same item. That is a time saver when it comes to listing because I don't have to create 10 listings, but I just have the one listing for 10 items. And so that's really cool. And also it's just kind of nice to like not have to thrift all 10 of those things, but you just, you know, pick the one style that you like. Maybe you get an assortment of colors for that same style, but it saves a lot of time on a lot of different fronts. If you have the capability to try out wholesale, I think it's a cool addition to any Poshmark closet. I will say that typically the investment is much more upfront. And if you're not careful, like if you don't pick out the best styles, then you might be stuck with a lot of something that you're just like, oh my gosh, like I'm not able to make my money back on this. So there is definitely a little bit more risk involved than just thrifting things for a very low price. I also would hardcore recommend against shopping from the Poshmark wholesale portal, just because from the little research that I've done of looking at what they offer on their wholesale portal, I don't think that they're leaving a lot of room for you to make that much money once you factor in how much you're paying upfront for those items. So I've never gone through Poshmark's wholesale portal. I've only ever gone through my friend. And as a result, the majority of the stuff that I have in my boutique on Poshmark are very unique. There's not a lot of other people selling the same exact thing, or like anyone else selling the same exact thing for that matter. So I like that aspect of it, and you know, all of the other things that I mentioned already. So this one I sold for $58, which was my full asking price. It sold on April 6th and it was listed for quite some time. Like, these bags, for whatever reason, have taken some time to move. It was listed for 126 days. The next item is another boutique item from my same wholesaler friend, but this time it was this vegan leather black laptop bag. This one is like a crossbody bag and it fits a smaller laptop. And I had this one in a few different colors. So this one I'm counting as 2 of the top 25 sales because I had 2 that sold for $50 or more. This particular one sold for $52, and then I had a taupe colored one that sold for $50 as well. But this black one sold on April 20th and it took 140 days to sell. The next thing to sell was this pair of Haan Grand OS double monk strap Oxfords in a size 10.5. These I actually purchased in a consignment deal with my friend during quarantine. So I'm very vocal about the fact that I, you know, had this reselling business as a side hustle. And so I have a lot of friends who will either just give me stuff for free, or friends who are like, hey, I have all this stuff. Is there any way we could work out some sort of deal where you buy it off of me? And I consider that like a consignment deal, right? So what I typically do is, for those kinds of friends, I have them bring everything by and I will go through everything and figure out how much I think I can sell it for, what I will profit off of that item, and then I offer to give them half. So I've done that now with like 4 or 5 nearby friends of mine, and generally speaking, they're just excited to get any amount of money for those pieces because their other option is just to donate or to, you know, maybe take those things to Plato's Closet or something. But because I'm a little bit older and my friends are a little bit older, the brands that they're trying to sell are not necessarily the kinds of brands that Plato's Closet is looking for, and we don't have a clothes mentor in our area, so I am their best option. I like to pay them up front because I don't want to keep track of things as they sell. So that's just my personal preference. Obviously, like maybe for some things I'm overpaying them, maybe for some things I'm underpaying them. I'm very upfront with them about that at the very beginning when we talk about even possibly, you know, having this business transaction. But I don't want to sit there and keep track of which item is whose and all that kind of stuff, and then like, you know, pay them out throughout the year as things sell. Like that's just too much work for me. So I personally like to just pay them up front. So if you have friends or family who are interested in consigning with you, that's definitely something to think about, is how you want to go about paying them. But I paid for this up front and it sold for $50 on April 26th. It took 40 days to sell. This particular friend of mine had really great taste, and I'll actually link that haul video right here where I show you everything that I bought off of him. But I mean, there are a few other things from him that sold on this list, so you can tell he had expensive taste. And he also had pieces where they just really held their value, so that was really cool. The next piece actually came from him as well, and it was this new without tags Patagonia Better Sweater jacket in a size medium. This sold for $65 and it sold on May 10th, which means that it was listed for 16 days. This one he gave to me because actually a lot of the stuff that he gave me was a result of the fact that he had lost so much weight, and he had bought this jacket and not been able to wear it because he had lost too much weight before the season rolled around where he would wear it. So, you know, he had taken the tags off and everything, but he never really wore it out of the house. And so that's why I was able to call it new without tags. And yeah, sold for $65 pretty quickly. Patagonia is a great brand, especially their Better Sweater, you know, jackets and pullovers and stuff like that. So definitely be on the lookout for those, especially, you know, given the season that we're in right now. The next thing to sell also came from the consignment store in my kids gymnastics plaza. It was this Smartwool 100% wool 250 base layer top in a size extra large. This sold for $50 on May 15th, which is kind of crazy. Who needs a base layer in May? It took 103 days to sell, which is, you know, a little bit longer, but that's totally fine because like I said, it sold for $50. I think I remember picking this up for like $11, but I was still really happy with it. Smartwool is another brand that I don't find very often, but when I do, it sells pretty well, and typically it sells pretty quick. This one, you know, I did hold on to for quite some time, but it is a great brand, again, especially going into the season that we're going into right now. The next thing to sell also came from the consignment store, and it was this new with tags, Two Sisters the label, Elysian one sleeve dress in a size 8. This sold for $55 on May 30th, and it was listed for 118 days. This is by the brand Two Sisters the label, which I believe is an Australian brand, and they create a lot of these really fun like mini dresses, going out like party dresses. A lot of the dresses are kind of made out of this crochet lace material, so they're both like feminine, flirty, as well as like sexy and just like, you know, going out appropriate for like clubs and all that kind of stuff. I think you could also, if you wanted to, like wear their pieces to like weddings, as you know, wedding guests and stuff. I do have a couple more dresses by this brand that I picked up at the same consignment store. I think 2 out of the 3 dresses were like $18 and one might have been like $16 or something. So that's what I mean by paying up, but I was still totally okay with the amount of money that I made after selling that dress for $55. The next thing to sell came from a different consignment store. It was a consignment store that I made contact with kind of towards the beginning of shelter in place, where I got to shop in their storage unit by myself, and I would fill like big garbage bags with clothes and shoes for $50. So this was something that I got in that deal. I paid less than $2 for them, and it was this pair of Boggs Blimsoll quilted floral tall rain boots in a size 8. I have heard of the brand Boggs, you know, from various resellers, but this was my first time finding them. So I was so excited to try them out, and they did not disappoint. I sold them for $55 on June 3rd, and they were only listed for 12 days. So Boggs is definitely a great brand. The majority of the stuff is like waterproof and just great for outdoorsy things because your feet won't get wet. So that was a really great and fun sale. The next thing to sell was amazing. I was so excited about it. It was this MCM logo striped tassel magnetic clothes wallet. I know at the beginning of the video I said that I just don't come across luxury brands, if ever, but the only reason I ever had this in my possession is because we have a Facebook group for the wives and mothers at my church, and it's just like a really great community where we can, whatever. But one of the moms put in the Facebook group that she had this wallet that she was just letting go of because she didn't use it anymore. Did anyone want it? I didn't even see it till like the day after she posted it, but like, although a few people had seen the post, no one, you know, said anything. So I messaged her and I was like, is this still available? And she was like, yeah. So I was like, can I have it? And she was like, yeah. So I went to her place to pick it up and I listed it. It sold in 7 days for $200, and that was after like going back and forth with someone who sent me a much lower offer, but we, you know, settled at $200. I think I had it listed at like $250. It sold on June 21st, and I did end up giving $100 to my friend who I picked it up from, just because, you know, I told her, I was like, I'm gonna try to sell this, and if I do, I'm gonna give you some money for it because you should not be giving this stuff away for free. And so we both won, you know. She's like a young mother with 2 children, and I don't know what their situation is with COVID and stuff. So I just wanted to make sure that I was able to pay her back for the kindness that she showed in giving me this wallet for free. And yeah, we both won. That was so exciting. So definitely tell people what you do, put yourself out there, check, you know, places like Facebook if you're a part of any groups, or Craigslist, or you don't even know like what people are trying to give away for free sometimes just because they want to get rid of it. You know, they're decluttering, and you need to be in the right place at the right time to come across, you know, amazing opportunities like this. So just blast it out into the universe, what you do, what you're looking for, and if you're willing to consign with people. The next thing was from the consignment store where I was shopping by the bag, and it was this pair of Zaya Active Blue Captain America. They're not really called Captain America leggings, but they had the same colorway as like the Captain America superhero, so that's why I put Captain America, because I didn't know the real name of these leggings. But they were crop leggings in a size small. They sold for $50 after being listed for only 6 days, and they sold on July 7th. So as you can see, a lot of the pieces that I'm talking about right now too sold in the midst of the pandemic. So it's not like just because we're in a pandemic, people have stopped shopping or they've stopped shopping for higher priced items. People are still shopping. So just putting that out there, if you feel like you shouldn't or can't list things that are more expensive, there's a buyer for everything, even in the season that we're in right now. Zaya is a really great activewear brand. They're a little bit newer, and they are a multi-level marketing company. So you can't buy Zaya at stores. You can only buy it from people who are like sales reps for Zaya. They have like those parties at their homes or right now on like Facebook and stuff. But yeah, it's a brand that a lot of people really love, and I found that out by listing these leggings and seeing how quickly they sold and how much interest they got right away. Like, so many people came and liked them and were sending me somewhat lowball offers, but I held out till I got, you know, this perfect offer of $50. And like I said, they took less than a week to sell. The next item came from that same consignment store where I shopped by the bag for $50. And by the way, those Zaya leggings, I paid less than 90 cents for. Crazy. But I also got these Doc Martens 8053 5-eye padded collar boot shoes in a size 7. They were less than $2 at the consignment store, and I sold them for $68. I believe that was my full asking price, and they sold in 15 days on July 14th. Those were a little bit older of a shoe, a little bit older of a style. They were in great shape. They had a little bit of scuffing at the toe, but they were just a really cool shoe. My first time finding Doc Martens, if you can believe it or not, and I was really happy to see them sell very quickly. The next thing to sell came from that same consignment store, and they were this pair of American Giant black cigarette pants in a size 4. American Giant is an American brand. I think everything is made in the US, and they're really popular right now. They sell all kinds of things. They sell like really popular hoodies. I think they sell jeans, but they also sell these kind of like comfortable work pant type things. They got so much attention right away, and I was really confused because I didn't know that this brand was this popular, but I found 2 pairs of black pants by this brand at that consignment store. I still have to list the other pair. I don't know what I'm waiting for, but they sold for $55, and they only took 3 days to sell, and they sold on July 19th. The next thing to sell was something from Goodwill. It was something that I had forever, like over a year. And it was this new with tags Weddington Way Julia bridesmaid dress in a size 6. Weddington Way, I feel like it's just like a very generic bridal line. Maybe they sell it at like David's Bridal or something like that. But I found 2 of them at a Goodwill. They were new with tags, so I just picked them up. I probably paid like $6 for each of them. And the first one I sold, I don't know, quite a while ago, maybe like half a year ago at this point. But this one sold for $52 on July 20th, and it had been listed for over a year. So bridesmaids dresses, I am really trying not to pick up anymore. I do have a couple listed right now that a friend gave me, but I don't know, I just feel like they're a hard sell. When they do sell, I think they sell for a good amount, but also I think they're even harder to sell right now because a lot of people are just not doing traditional weddings. They're doing like Zoom weddings, and you know, they're not even able to have bridesmaids at their weddings, and so people are just not shopping for that kind of stuff. Personally, if I see a bridesmaid's dress at the Goodwill, I'm leaving it behind because I know I'm probably going to be sitting on it for quite some time. The next thing to sell was this pair of Haan Baron Chukka. I don't know how to say it. If you know how to say it, let me know. But it was these leather lace-up boots in a size 10.5 from the same friend who gave me the Patagonia Sweater jacket and the other pair of Haans that sold. But these sold for $65 on July 24th. They were listed for 130 days. And yeah, Haan for men, I think, can do really well still if they're in a trendy style and in really good shape. So definitely don't turn your nose up at Haan. The next thing to sell for $50 or more was this Outdoor Research, which is a great like outdoor brand, Goose Down Sonata hoodie jacket in a size extra small. It was in this really bright like orange color. It even had like black stains on the elbow. Still sold for $100 on August 16th after being listed for 57 days. I got that for less than $1 at the consignment store where I was shopping by the bag. Insane. Like, I was so excited because I've never found this brand out in the wild before. I knew it was a good brand, and this is just proof of that. The next thing to sell was this pair of new with tags Sorel Phoenix Moto Leather waterproof boots in a size 6.5. This was retail arbitrage from that same store that I talked about earlier. They sold for $110, and they sold on August 23rd after being listed for 176 days. Those I was getting really worried about. I was like, oh my gosh, like, why aren't they selling? But it makes sense that they would sell now as we're kind of entering the fall and winter. I believe I paid around $50 for those, maybe a little bit less. So to sell them for $110, that's pretty good. I mean, it's still a really good profit. And then the last thing on my list is this suit actually from Calvin Klein. It was made of 100% wool. The jacket was a size 38 regular and the pants were a size 32 regular. This I actually purchased from a different male friend of mine who I also worked out a consignment deal with. And this suit actually sold for my full asking price of $78 on September 3rd after being listed for 190 days. I hate selling suits, like selling men's or women's suits of like 2 or more pieces. No, thank you. Like, it's just not my favorite thing. I don't know. Nothing about this sale was like super exciting to me, except for the fact that it sold for $78. Like, I was so excited when it did finally sell. I feel like suits are just one of those things that a lot of people don't want to buy online after someone else has worn it, just because a lot of suits are like hemmed or just, you know, things are done to suits to fit that person specifically. So I don't know. I really don't think I'm going to be selling suits from now on, but you know, I did sell this one for $78, so who knows? So those were the 25 items that I was able to sell for $50 or more on Poshmark in the year 2020. There were a few more, and like I said, there are a few other sales that were $50 or more on different platforms, but I picked those 25 items to show you the different brands as well as like styles of clothing or even like the gender that the clothing is for, all that kind of stuff. Really quickly, I just wanted to break down for you where those pieces came from, just so you can see why I choose to shop where I shop. So one of those items came from the Indianapolis bins. 3 of those items were boutique pieces, so things that I got from my wholesaler friend. 9 of them were from 2 different consignment stores. 1 was something that I got for free from my mother-in-law. 5 were from my friends who I worked out consignment deals with. 3 are from Goodwills. 2 are from retail arbitrage, and 1 is from like my school garage sale thing. And what that shows me is that there are higher priced items to be found if I spend my time in the right places. And I know that you have to take this kind of data with a grain of salt too, in the sense of like, I would say the majority of the stuff that I've listed in the year 2020 are pieces from the consignment store because I fell into so many pieces from that consignment store. So it only makes sense that more of my sales will be from consignment stores. But I also think that it shows that those pieces sell for a good amount because I also have been going to Goodwills and different places like that. But I think the reason why 14 out of the 25 pieces that I was able to sell for $50 or more came from consignment stores or consignment deals that I worked out with my friends is because people are not going to bother taking really cheap, insignificant pieces to consignment stores. And when my friends consign with me, they're gonna give me their best stuff because they wanna make the most money off of it. And also, like I talked about earlier with the consignment store, I do think that it saves time to source from places like consignment stores because you don't have to sift through so much crap. People have already curated what you're gonna be seeing and they're making sure that the brands are good, they're making sure that things are trendy, they're making sure that things are not flawed. And then I think you also save a lot of time when you have friends who just bring you like a ton of stuff and they're like, here, like take what you want and pay me for it, and then the rest you can just take to Goodwill or something. Because again, you're not taking the time to like drive to a thrift store to sift through the stuff, but you have all this stuff in your house already. You're just kind of looking through it. You can pick out the pieces that you want. And generally speaking, my friends aren't going to give me their crap. Like they already know which stuff is stained or flawed. They've set that stuff aside to take to Goodwill on their own. And so they're really just giving me the best of the best so that I can look through it, see what I want to sell, and I'll pay them for it. So moving forward, I know that that's where I want to spend my time when it comes to sourcing. I want to spend my time in consignment stores and working with my friends and family members who have things that they're going to let go of and they want to make as much off of those items as they can. I'll also continue working with my wholesaler friend, and you know, I probably could use some fresh boutique pieces to put in my Poshmark closet, especially as we approach fourth quarter and as people are looking for gifts and stuff to get for the holidays. Again, it's not my favorite way to make money just because the investment up front is much larger, and oftentimes for whatever reason I am sitting on those pieces for a little bit longer as well. But I will probably also be looking into, you know, putting more of those pieces in my Poshmark closet. But as far as like Goodwill and retail arbitrage and, you know, those kinds of things, going to the Goodwill bins, I don't know. It's like, I don't find as many high-priced items at those locations. And so for me, it just makes sense that I don't go to those locations as much. It's fun, don't get me wrong. I love going to Goodwill and having 2 hours to myself to just look through stuff and see what I can find. It is the best kind of treasure hunt ever. But the data shows that there isn't as much, at least in my Goodwills or even like the Goodwill outlets that I go to, there's just not as much there that I'm gonna make that much money on. So as I think about, you know, making the most of my time, I think moving forward, that's really where I'm going to spend it, is at consignment stores, working with friends and family to consign their pieces, and also adding some more boutique items to my Poshmark closet. I would love to hear from you. Where do you feel like you find the pieces that you're able to profit the most off of? Do you have really great thrift stores in your area? Do you do a lot of retail arbitrage? I would love to hear from you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you feel like you learned anything or enjoyed it at all, please consider hitting that like button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!